Listen to this, guys. He ordered the state's National Guard to ring the school and block the black students' entrance. That's the governor of a state, disrespecting the Constitution of the United States of America. They're being blocked. There's mob violence. At some point, the school was blown up just because of integration. My God, these are human beings just like you. Incredible what black Americans went through. Just because someone was born into slavery does not mean that he would lack intellectual capacity to function as an independent citizen of the United States. I mean, that people could come up with such words is just absolutely ridiculous. This is Africa, the cradle of mankind's birth, where powerful kingdoms arose with stories of worth. A youth-filled land, the youngest population, with diamonds and cocoa from its fertile foundation, exemplary leaders, their legacy told. Nkrumah, Mandela, their spirits bold. From Johnson Sirleaf's Liberia, where freedom lies, and her first female leader, so wise. Let courage and dreams unite as one for a brighter tomorrow where greatness is spun. In this beautiful, colorful, and friendly domain, greatness awaits, where hopes shall not wane, where tales of triumph weave a tapestry. Welcome to Today in African History. September 3rd. After one failed escape attempt at the age of 15, Frederick Douglass escaped to New York on the 3rd of September 1838, where he declared himself a free man and turned his efforts to helping those still in bondage. As an anti-slavery speaker, he caught the attention of William Lloyd Garrison, one of America's most prominent abolitionists, who soon had Douglass touring the country speaking against slavery on behalf of the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society. Frederick Douglass was born into a life of slavery on Maryland's eastern shore as Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey. In February 1818, he would go on to become a prominent abolitionist, writer, and speaker. He rose to fame in the 1845 publication of his first book, titled The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave, written, of course, by himself. He fought throughout most of his career for the abolition of slavery and also worked with notable abolitionist Gerrit Smith. After escaping from slavery in Maryland, he became a national leader of the abolitionist movement in Massachusetts and New York, during which he gained fame for his oratory and incisive anti-slavery writings. Accordingly, he was described by abolitionists in his time as a living counterexample to enslavers' arguments, wait for this guys, that enslaved people lacked the intellectual capacity to function as independent American citizens. Can you believe that? People are always going to give an excuse why they're doing what they're doing. They're always going to justify their wrongs. It's still happening today. Most people from the northern states at the time found it hard to believe that such a great orator had once been enslaved. It was in response to this disbelief that Douglass wrote his first autobiography. So African Americans, those who have descended from enslaved peoples, have people like Frederick Douglass to thank for changing the minds of people who make assumptions about people on face value. It's so unfortunate and it's so sad, but it's understandable. I think most of us do the same thing. You see someone and you think, oh, he's a slave, so he can't amount to much. But Frederick Douglass was one of the many people who proved these slave owners wrong. Just because someone was born into slavery does not mean that he would lack intellectual capacity to function as an independent citizen of the United States. That people could come up with such words is just absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. And that's an understatement. That word is an understatement. Anyway, so that's what happened on this day. Frederick Douglass, America's most famous slave, finally escaped from slavery on this day in 1838, and declared himself a freedman. He escaped to New York. Also on this day, the year was 1956, the Tennessee National Guard was sent to Clinton, Tennessee, to quell mobs demonstrating against school integration. In August 1956, in the small town of Clinton, Tennessee, 12 boys and girls walked through the doors of the local high school. They were the first black students to enroll in any high school in the former Confederacy under a court order, and they were making American history. Jo Ann Allen was one of those students, and she says, on the inside, some of these students were trying to be nice. Jo Allen says, in fact, in my homeroom, one young lady nominated me to be vice president of my homeroom. Outside, it was a very different story. Segregationists blew up this high school. Years of unrest tore the town apart. Allen continues, they were yelling at us, screaming names. They started to throw rotten eggs and tomatoes, and a few rocks got past our heads just because these people were black and they wanted to get an education in an all-white school. This was kicked against. It's hard to believe that this happened only in 1956. Only in 1956. There's an interesting transcript that follows this, guys. So, a news announcer says, this is Central High School, Little Rock, Arkansas. Troops, which for nearly 3 weeks lined the sidewalks here in front of the high school under orders to keep the colored students out, have been replaced now, and the order is to comply with the law, which means let the Negro students in if they come in. Meghna Chakrabarti says, September 25, 1957, 9 black students were finally able to first step foot inside Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. They were escorted in by members of the National Guard and the Army's 101st Airborne Division. Can you imagine that? You needed the Army to make sure that these students were safe and escorted to school? 3 years later, or 3 years earlier, the US Supreme Court had officially ruled that segregated schools were unconstitutional. The Little Rock 9 had tried multiple times to enter Central High in 1957, but each time they were met with mob violence. Incredible. From an archival footage, they got no business out here, someone says. This is our school, not theirs. They are their own. Telephone calls have come to me at the mansion in a constant stream. This is still part of the archival footage. And this sounds like the governor speaking. And the expressions of all are the fear of disorder and violence in this attempt at forcible integration of Central High School. Chakrabarti continues, on September 2nd, just before what was supposed to be the students' first day at school, Arkansas Governor Oval Forbes, listen to this, guys, he ordered the state's National Guard to ring the school and block the black students' entrance. That's the governor of a state, disrespecting the Constitution of the United States of America. They did so for 3 weeks in defiance of a federal court ruling that the guards be removed. And then, on September 25, 1957, President Dwight Eisenhower took the historic step of federalizing the National Guard. He also sent army troops to Little Rock as well. And the students finally were able to go to class. Now, before I continue, let's think about what these students were thinking. Think about their parents, scared about the safety of their students. Just think about it. You let your child try to go to this school, this all-white school, for years. They've been blocked. There's mob violence. At some point, the school was blown up just because of integration. My God, these are human beings just like you. Incredible what Black Americans went through. Incredible. So I'm going to continue. Dwight Eisenhower says, such an extreme situation has been created in Little Rock. This challenge must be met, and with such measures as will preserve to the people as a whole their lawfully protected rights in a climate permitting their free and fair exercise. In the present case, the troops are there pursuant to law solely for the purpose of preventing interference with the orders of the court. Chakrabarty says Governor Forbes was enraged. Interesting. We are now in an occupied territory. So this is Governor Forbes now speaking. Evidence of the naked force of the federal government is here apparent in these unsheathed bayonets in the backs of the schoolgirls. Archival footage, students, you guard it all the time. It's not even like a school. Hardly. Every place you walk, there is somebody telling you to go on or don't stand there. Something like that. That's right, because there is no certain place that you can go without someone pushing you on or say, you can't stand here, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. The interviewer says, so the interviewer is asking, do the soldiers give these orders to the students? Students, they have passed a bulletin around today. I'll end this with these words. Chakrabarty says, this is on point. So this is a magazine. I am Meghna Chakrabarty, and those were the voices of white Central High students expressing the injustice of being told where to stand, what to do, and where they were allowed to be. Of course, listen to this, guys. This is exactly the treatment that Black Americans had been living under in the segregated South for, wait for this, 100 years. Guys, I'm not going to say more than this. America has come a very, very long way. While we say there is still racism, white Americans, those who supported African Americans to fight racism, you've got to give the kudos to them. You've got to do that. For those African Americans who fought tirelessly to make sure that this came to fruition, you have to give them the kudos as well. These were brave men and women on both sides. For the white Americans who sat back or who blew up a school just because they didn't want to mix with black. Sometimes I just talk about these things and I'm thinking, this actually happened less than a century ago in the United States of America. The more I find out about Black history, the more respect I have for African Americans and for white Americans who stood beside African Americans because they wanted the right thing to be done. This guy, the president of the United States of America at the time, did an absolute fantastic job. You know, can you imagine a governor trying to block a court order, which now forced the president to nationalize the National Guard? So guys, that's it for today. Interesting history of what African Americans went through, and to a larger, smaller extent, are still going through some racism today. But you know, the law has been on their side for quite a while. It's not just about the law, but it's about making sure that the law actually works and the law is fair for everybody, not just African Americans. Okay, the law is fair for every single person. Doesn't favor one race over another race. You know, we're all born equal. All have red blood flowing in our veins. It's just the color of our skin that's different. It doesn't affect our intellectual ability at all. On that note, guys, we have come to the end of today's Today in History. If you are here for the first time and you like what we're doing here, do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, turn on your notification bell as well so that you are notified whenever we drop a video. If you've been here before and you haven't subscribed and you enjoy what we're doing, support our channel, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, share the video, and also like the video. Take care, and I shall see you tomorrow, September 4th, for another edition of Today in African History. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.